Hello everyone, welcome back to the sbre. In today's video, we're taking a look at the 2011 comedy movie, Th3 Intouchables, starring Omar and François Cluzet. The Intouchables tells the story of an ex-criminal and a handicapped French billionaire who develop a friendship that not many people have the chance to experience. The best part? It's based on a real story. Watch the video till the end so you don't miss out on anything. Now just sit back, relax, and enjoy. The movie starts in a black sports car where Driss and Philippe were driving off in the busy streets of Paris. Philippe looked depressed while Driss worried for him. When they get stuck in traffic, Driss breaks the lane and takes off, making the police follow their tail. Unbothered by this, he turns to Philippe and bets him €100 that he can get the police off their tail. Driss drives recklessly around to lose the police, but when he drives down a bridge, he finds himself surrounded by police cars. Still not bothered about the situation, he turns to Philippe again and bets €200 that he can get the police to escort them instead of arresting them. He gets out of the car and tells the police that he was driving recklessly because Philippe was having a stroke. He then further threatens the officer that it'll be their responsibility if he dies. Philippe plays along with him and foams his mouth, making the police officer panic and offer to escort him to the nearest hospital. When the police go to fetch the stretcher, Driss drives off, reminding Philippe that he won the bet. This scene then takes us back a few months to when the friendship began. Philippe was interviewing people for his caregiver position. The meetings were long and boring until Driss bursts into the room and demands Philippe to sign a rejection form so he can apply for unemployment benefits. Philippe immediately finds his attitude fascinating and asks him to sit. And for the first time, he began to participate in the interview. He asks Driss about his music taste and his inspiration for applying to his job. Driss says he applied for this job because he knew rich people like him would never hire him. And he also starts flirting with his assistant, Magali. When he keeps insisting Philippe sign the form right away, Philippe tells him to come back tomorrow. Driss happily makes his way back to his home, where all his siblings were a chaotic mess and wouldn't even let him take a bath alone. Thankfully, his teenage sister comes and collects the kids from the bathroom. The whole family is eating dinner when he sees his brother getting out of a strange black car. When he asks his brother where he was, he lies and says he was at school. Then he collects his bag and leaves again. He waits nervously for his mom to get home. When she comes home, he offers her a golden egg he had stolen from Philippe's house. But his mother has had enough of him disappearing randomly and tells him to leave the house for good. Driss leaves the house and spends the whole night drinking with the neighborhood boys. He leaves early to get his form from Philippe. But once he's inside the house, he was immediately escorted by the housekeeper and showed him around the house. Driss insists he doesn't need a tour because he was just here to collect his form. But when he sees the room that he can have, with a bathtub way bigger than the one in his home, he's tempted by the luxury. Philippe calls him as he's taking his morning physiotherapy and gives him his form. Driss was ready to leave after getting his form, but Philippe stops him and offers him a 1-month trial as his caretaker. He also challenges Driss, saying that he wouldn't be able to last a week. He gives Driss a day to think about it. Having nowhere to live, Driss moves in right away. He's given training on how to massage Philippe's leg, but he falls asleep halfway through, making the instructor yell at him. And while bathing Philippe, he mistakes his leg cream for shampoo. He makes a lot of mistakes despite supervision, but Philippe seems to enjoy his company. After the bath, he's told to put on Philippe's leg stocking that regulates his blood circulation and keeps him from fainting. He refuses to do it at first, but has no choice but to follow when Philippe threatens to call the housekeeper. He then sees another pair of gloves and asks about it. Everyone tells him he's not ready to use that yet, but kept insisting when he finds out those gloves were to help Philippe after he goes to the bathroom. He resists aggressively, stating that he wouldn't wipe after someone no matter what. That night, he meets Elisa, Philippe's daughter, who had snuck out to the roof to make out with her boyfriend. He tells him off, and Elisa immediately starts to dislike him. He spends his days getting settled into his new job and makes a lot of mistakes. One time, he accidentally dropped hot water on Philippe's leg, and when he doesn't react, he continues to play around until the housekeeper comes and tells him off because he could have burned him. Philippe doesn't mind Driss playing around, and he seems to like that he doesn't treat him with any pity or extra care. In the next scene, Driss is sorting Philippe's mail when Philippe suddenly tells him to not open a letter, as it was quite private. Though Driss is curious, he doesn't ask Philippe about it and instead teases him by showing him a brochure of an escort company. Philippe tells him to throw it out, but Driss decides to make a new folder for himself. Later, he had to take Philippe to an art gallery, but he refuses to load Philippe in the back of the car like a horse. Instead, he chooses a sports car and straps Philippe to the passenger seat. Philippe is very excited to drive, but when the gate opens, he sees that the neighbor had parked his car in front of the house, though it says no parking. Th3 gets out of the car and pulls the neighbor out before slamming him into a wall, making him read the no parking sign again. Philippe is actually very proud of the way Th3 handled the situation, but the housekeeper Yvonne is very disapproving of Th3's aggressive behavior. In the art gallery, Th3 tries to stop Philippe from spending thousands of dollars on a ridiculous-looking painting, but Philippe ends up buying it anyway. He then takes Philippe to meet one of his relatives, who expresses his concern about Philippe hiring Th3 as his caretaker. The relative had done some background check on Th3 and found out that he was recently released from jail on the charges of robbery. But Philippe isn't too concerned about Th3's past and insists on keeping him. One day, Th3 overhears Philippe dictating a poem to Magali on the baby monitor and asks Yvonne about it. Yvonne tells him that he often writes to his pen pal Eleanor, but they've never actually met. He leaves the room, but not before teasing Yvonne about how the gardener likes her. That night, Th3 wakes up and hears Philippe breathing heavily through the baby monitor. He ignores it at first, but decides to check on him. He brings out a wet towel and successfully soothes Philippe with his words. They're both sleeping until Philippe wakes up gasping for air. Th3 straps him to his wheelchair and takes him out for a walk. Turns out it's been a while since Philippe has seen Paris at night. They pass a group of girls, and that makes Th3 curious if Philippe can still experience pleasure. Philippe reveals that though he doesn't feel anything from his neck down, massaging his ears gives him a great deal of pleasure. Th3 was teasing him with this new information when Philippe starts to feel pain again. Th3 pulls out a cigarette and gives it to Philippe, and though he refuses at first, it soothes him immediately. Then, they go to a restaurant where Philippe tells Th3 about his wife and how they were in love, and how after they got married, she had 5 consecutive miscarriages before they decided to adopt Elisa. He reveals how she was diagnosed with a terminal disease, and he had also lost the will to live without her, which is why he recklessly made a mistake that left him paralyzed. He also asks Th3 to return the golden egg he had taken from him, explaining that it was a valuable gift his wife gave him every year and that he has exactly 25 eggs, signifying each year of their marriage. Th3 feels guilty after hearing this, but he refuses to admit that he took the egg. The next day, he goes to his sister's school because she had called him for an emergency. Mina revealed that the police had called the previous night saying Adama was arrested. Th3 tells her to hide this matter from their mom and goes to bail Adama. He tries to make him talk about who he was hanging out with, but Adama behaves rudely with him and runs away. Later, he follows Adama and sees him getting into the same black car, and he can do nothing but drive away. Later that day, Th3 joined Philippe in his study as he dictates another letter for Eleanor and tells him to be more direct with his words. He also insists that he should meet her just to be sure she wasn't a catfish. But Philippe is stubborn about this matter and refuses to meet her outside of the letters because he's insecure about his current state. Taking the matter into his own hand, Th3 finds Eleanor's number in one of the letters and immediately calls her and forces him to talk to Eleanor. She's delighted to hear back from him, and they talk for hours before making a plan to meet soon. The scene shifts to an opera theater where Philippe was telling Th3 everything about Eleanor when he suddenly looked worried. When Th3 asks him, he reveals that Eleanor had asked him for a picture, and he didn't feel confident about her seeing him in this chair. Th3 jokingly assures him that she would be impressed with his money, but when he sees that Philippe was truly worried, he reassures him that if the girl could spend 6 months responding to his lame poems, she definitely liked him. The opera starts, and Th3 spends the rest of the evening making fun of everything that happens on the stage. Later, they're choosing a picture for Eleanor when Th3 shows Philippe a picture of him in his chair, and Philippe agrees to send the picture. But after Th3 leaves, he tells Yvonne to exchange his picture with an old one and to dispose of the picture Th3 had chosen. But right at that moment, Th3 barges into Philippe's room, making Yvonne hide the picture in Th3's escort folder. Th3 complains to Philippe about how his daughter barged into his room while he was painting and asks him to discipline her. Philippe doesn't think Elisa's behavior is too bad, but when Yvonne takes Th3's side and tells him that her behaviors towards his workers are very rude, Philippe agrees to discipline her. But he was still more surprised by the fact that Th3 was painting. In his room, Th3 casually throws random paints onto a canvas and shows his work to Yvonne and Magali, who try not to hurt his feelings. He then shows his work to Philippe and asks him how much it's worth. Turns out, he just wanted to make quick money by selling his painting to the rich. Months pass by, while Th3 and Philippe continue to form a strong bond. Th3 takes him around the city, plays in the snow with him, and hires escorts to massage Philippe's ears. On the other hand, Philippe takes Th3's advice and disciplines his daughter as Th3 listens and guides him through the baby monitor. In the present, Philippe was buying Th3 a suit to wear on his birthday, where all of his family would gather. Philip complains about how he hates his family gathering because everyone becomes bored after a while and they only just attend as a formality to check on him and make sure he's alive. The party turns out to be more boring than Philippe had said, so Th3 brings out some music and even convinces Philippe's relatives to dance to it. Th3 takes a break from the party and heads inside the house when he hears crying noises from Elisa's room. He goes to check on her and sees that she had taken some Tylenol and stomach medicine hoping to die. He makes fun of her for being stupid and asks her about what's bothering her. She reveals that her boyfriend Sebastian had broken up with her and insulted her in front of everyone. She asks Th3 if he can talk some sense into Sebastian, but he refuses and leaves. On the other hand, Philippe was showing Th3's painting to one of his relatives and convinced him to buy it for 11,000 euros. That same night, they open Eleanor's recent letter where she had asked to meet Philippe. Th3 is happy to see that she's both beautiful and fit for Philippe perfectly. On the day of their meeting, Th3 and Yvonne help Philippe get ready for his date. Yvonne would accompany him to his date, leaving Th3 free to do as he pleases. He pays a visit to Sebastian and tells him to apologize to Elisa, and then goes to visit his mom at her work, but only watches her from afar. Back at the restaurant, it was already night and past their meeting time. Thinking she had ditched him, he calls for Th3 and asks him to pick him up. But as he leaves, he just misses Eleanor, who was entering the restaurant. Th3 picks him up and doesn't ask him any questions about his date. He simply wheels him to his private plane and they leave for a vacation. Turns out Philippe's idea for a vacation was paragliding, and though he was paralyzed because of a paragliding injury, he didn't mind doing it again. On the other hand, Th3 was freaking out and cursing throughout the whole experience. They return home happy from their vacation to find Adama waiting for Th3 inside. He had come to deliver Th3's unemployment grant and was shocked to see that Th3 lived in such luxury. Th3, on the other hand, is furious to see bruises on Adama's face. When he questions him, Adama reveals that one of the fights got out of hand and now things were too messy for him to handle. Th3 leaves Adama in his room and calls Mina to assure her that Adama is fine. Philippe, who was hearing the conversation, is worried about Th3. To lighten the mood, Philippe tells Th3 that he would definitely recognize Adama as Th3's brother if he saw him on the street. Th3 laughs off the compliment and reveals that Adama is not his biological brother and that his mother is actually his aunt who took him because she and her husband couldn't have a child. But suddenly she became pregnant and other kids came along. And when his uncle died, other men were there, but they never stuck around to take any responsibility. Hearing this, Philippe jokes that his brother definitely needed some disciplining. He then asks Th3 to quit his job and look after his family instead of hauling around a rich old man like him. Th3 takes his advice and leaves to deal with his family. He gets ready to leave when Magali comes and introduces him to her girlfriend Fred, and he finally realizes why she wouldn't reciprocate any of his flirting. As he was leaving, Yvonne handed him his escort folder, and he was about to dump it when he saw a picture of Philippe on the inside and realized that Philippe sent a different picture to Eleanor. Though he was disappointed, he decided to keep the picture for himself and move on. Despite everything, his aunts accepted him back, and he manages to get a job despite his lack of experience. He slowly fits into his old lifestyle, but things aren't as smooth for Philippe, who hates his new caretaker. Philippe slowly becomes depressed without Th3 and hates that everything was back to normal again. One night, Philippe was having an attack, but he refused to let his caretaker help. Desperate to ease his pain, Yvonne calls Th3. Th3 comes and takes him out for a ride, and we're back to the scene where the movie started. They ditch the cop at the hospital and Th3 drives him to the ocean. Philippe is feeling better now that Th3 was back with him, and they go to a restaurant to eat. But before they can order, Th3 reveals that he isn't staying for lunch and that someone else would come to keep Philippe company. Philippe calls out Th3's name in confusion, but he walks away without looking back. Moments later, we see a woman approach Philippe. It was Eleanor. Th3 had set up a date with Eleanor without telling Philippe, and it turns out she didn't mind that Philippe was in a wheelchair. The real Philippe has remarried and has 2 more daughters, and the real Th3 opened up a firm and is now married with 3 children. That was it for today, guys. We hope you enjoyed the video. What are your thoughts about this movie? Would you watch it? Have a movie you want us to recap? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this.